Well, I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you.
Here in our faculty, and we are very pleased to have you as a great teacher of the McGill University in the area of architecture and housing. And well, we in Portugal we have a little experience on housing with certain international focus. But I suppose you bring us not only the experience of Canada, or Quebec, Canada, of course, very different from the United States, I suppose, and links, I suppose, with certain links with Europe. Well, and well, I hope that we can learn from you this large experience. And I saw your curriculum vitae, very large, very profound, certainly, because I'm sorry, but I didn't read your not only one of your writings, but I saw that in the housing theme, there are many studies about housing, and housing is so important for the people. And well, in our society, with so in a time when the changes are so big, I think it's a challenge to think about housing today. Well, thank you very much.
Pronto. Estão feitas as apresentações e eu vou passar desde já a palavra ao professor Avi Friedman, que evidentemente que vai falar em inglês, mas ele fala pausadamente e o inglês dele é acessível. É acessível a quem tem algumas luzes. E, portanto, no final, se houver algumas dúvidas sobre o que ele disse, podemos fornecer uma tradução instantânea ou imediata, tradução simultânea, se no período das perguntas quiserem perguntar em inglês, perguntam, se quiserem perguntar em português, perguntam, que eu traduzo e vamos fazer assim. Pronto. E agora dou a palavra ao professor Friedman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope that you can understand my English, okay? Like that you can hear me well, and it is wonderful to be in your country. I've been here, it is my first visit to Portugal, and the moment I land, I saw the warmth of the people here. You are a very warm nation. You feel very good when you walk here, when you come here and you talk to people, and it is a privilege to be in such university. I also would like to take and thank Professor George for organizing this talk, and I enjoy being here with you. What happened is that I, all my life, worked on housing. Housing is my work, and as you can see, most of my work is in the area of affordable housing. Before I talk about my work, I would like to share with you a few images. If it can be made even darker, they will see better. I would like to talk to you very briefly about the place from which I'm coming. As you know, Canada has a huge landmass. We are the second biggest country landmass in the world. But about 90% of all our land is inhabitable. We live in a strip of 10 kilometers up from the border of the United States. Another thing that you may want to know is that we live in a very, very cold nation. The temperature I heard last night was minus 30 Celsius. Very cold, very cold. It's like living for 6 months in a fridge. This is how we live. And as a result, our homes, our architecture, need to be designed for this kind of climate, for the weather. Another important element, I know that forests are highly valued here. All our work, the housing that I'm talking about today, are built of wood. Because in Canada, we regard forest as a resource. We cut and we grow again, and therefore most of our homes are made of wood. The other issue that I want to talk about today, something that despite the fact that Canada is a wealthy nation, we also have a serious affordability crisis in Canada. Young people, like many other places in the world, cannot afford to buy a home. And as a result, we need to think about very interesting, innovative strategies to bring about change to that kind of challenge. Today, I will talk to you about a particular experience that I had. And the experience comes from a question that I ask myself, and this is whether university can bring about change. Whether you, as young people, can change the world in which you are. Can you wake up in the morning and have an idea and go with that idea and do a change that will alter, that will completely change the condition of the country? It was my case when I started to work at my university as a young professor, and I was given an opportunity to start a new program called the Affordable Homes Program that meant to develop completely new type of housing. But when we started, it was not very easy. When we started, we faced several challenges. The first one, that whereas in the past there was lots of employment, it was easy to find work, this was no longer the case. Most work went to low-wage country, and we face a situation where many people were young and jobless. They did not have money. And if you don't have money, how can you buy a home? If you don't have a permanent employment, how can you? Because, as you know, the money, banks will want permanent employment. The second challenge was the realization that we cannot live like this anymore. We build in density of 4 to 7 units per acre. This is about twice as much in hectare. But when you build like this, there are many negative issues, including driving, including building very far, including losing lots of energy. And we needed to move to something like this. And this was a very difficult change, both for people and the building industry that used to be built very wide, very spread, which was one of the challenges that we faced. Another one was Canada is extremely wealthy in resources. We have fantastic amount of resources, one of which is the oil. Now we are suffering because the cost of oil is down. But we have lots of oil. But we had to change people's mentality and explain them that consumption of oil has other ramifications, and we need to find ways to develop alternative sources of energy. Because when you consume oil, there are fantastic environmental and emission issues that we need to change. And this was not easy to let people understand that we need to find alternative sources of energy. Another challenge was this. The home building industry is the home building industry is such that we are still, despite the fact that we are a very progressive nation, it refuses to change, and we still build with hammer and saw, whereas you have today opportunity to bring about automation. So we needed to convince people that you can change and create a new type of production system that will let you build and use some of these buildings in other ways. Another change has to do with demographic changes in Canada. Whereas this was the family of the 1950s, mother, father, 3 kids, we have seen dramatic changes today, and we needed to create housing for the new type of family, which might be this. There can be single parent families. Many young people decide to start family and not have kids at all. And as a result, what we need to do is to develop completely different type of housing that address those needs of the new family types that we needed to address. We needed to change the DNA of how we design housing. We needed to change the way we completely think about housing design and production. And we needed to do it in a smart fashion, because if you bring about a complete revolution, things may not work. So you have to be careful of how, as we say in English, pitch the ball. Okay. So what we needed to do is to bring up new ideas. I believe that in life, you have many opportunities to change. Making a change is not easy. But those changes, when they are introduced and are accepted, has tremendous impact on the way we do things. And as you can see, we recognize that we are at this point, that we need to move in another direction, because if we take this, we will lose the opportunity. We need to think differently. So how do you do that? Young professor in a university who would like to complete and do and change things, how a young person and a university can bring about change? We recognize that a good way to introduce our change will be to build a demonstration unit right on the heart of the campus. If we have an idea as a professor, my colleague and I, if we can build a house right on the house of the campus and invite the industry and invite people and the media, they may like what we have to say. So we say we will build a demonstration unit. Now, this is not easy. Where you find money, where you find opportunity, how you convince the university president to let you build a house right here, which is a challenge. I personally believe that every day when you wake up in the morning, you need to have 3 good ideas that can change the world. And when you find this good idea, you go and you make them happen. And this is what we decided to do. So, we got the money. I went to a large company with my colleague and we got the money. And we needed to think about prototype, what to build. Once again, remember, it's the center of the city, the center of the university, and I did not have permanency. I did not have tenure. So this was a risky move in that regard. What we decided to do, that rather than design something which will be pie in the sky, something too imaginary, we will take opportunity to learn from the way the car industry moved. You see, this was the minivan. They wanted to build a sports car, a taxi, a school bus, and move it, and this was the outcome. So if you want to do something, we wanted to learn clearly from the way the industry worked and to come and create something much more interesting. So we started by doing research. We went to the fundamentals and we looked into the way things are, and as you can see, we studied the form. if you have in architecture a good ratio between envelope and area, you will spend not much energy. There is not much energy to escape, and you get the more space, which led us to this. If you build in Canada, they used to build wider. So we say that if we build taller, the heat from the bottom will hit the upper floor, and it will be energy efficient. Also, we suggested something that I know you have here in Europe and in Portugal. We say that this is how people used to build in Canada, and we suggested, as you can see, that we can put units together, and when they will be together, there will be wonderful energy efficiency, and you will spend less material. So there was a lot of research and study that went into that. And then, similar to the home building industry, we decided after this research to come up with almost like the car industry, the home building industry work. We developed several models. And unlike architectural ideas that see many ideas high in the sky, we say that we will not only have simple architectural idea, but we will also suggest how much they cost. So it was not only design that based on research, but it was design that came with a price tag. And we right away did something unheard of. We gained the confidence of the industry. They say, these guys, they know what they're doing. They mention money with regard to how it works. These amounts were not only sums of money, but they were based on young people income. We knew how much money people are making. And in order to, when we introduce these amounts, we say, if this will be built, many young people who cannot have a home today will be able to afford it. So it was not only number, but it was understanding of how the economics of the market works. Another thing that we did was the way the industry functioned. We suggested that you can build a menu. People should not be forced to buy things that they don't need. If you don't have a big family, why do you invest in a big kitchen? And we created a menu of exterior element. If you want, you can have a garage, you can have a balcony, you can have different types of roof, and this, by choice, will enable you to bring the cost down. This is, once again, things that were different, but again, exercised by the industry at the time. When you are an architect, a young architect, you would like that your work will be in the glosses. You would like that your work will be published. And we, therefore, wanted to have one of these fancy design, something with glass, something with very fancy that will be published all over the place. It was temptation of us as designers to be something that will be Calatrava. But we recognize that if we take this route, we will make a mistake, because most of the houses in North America are like this. So if you want to change, understand the market. I could have done any of this design, and I will show you work that I've done. But we recognize that in order to reach the market, you need to speak with the way 90% of all the housing in Canada are like this. So we needed to find a style. Now, what we wanted, therefore, we came up with a design that we built on the campus of McGill University. It was 4.2 meter wide. And we wanted to create this, small. We wanted to create something that will resemble this efficiency, and imagine something like this on a campus of McGill University, a big university. When we build something like this, and say, what's going on here? It was this moment in life when you want to change something, and you can see how the world works against you, and you start to say, maybe I should run away. But you decide, I will not run away. I will not, and I will try to introduce something different. And as you can see, we made a few assumptions. We said that young people should not expect to be fed everything. And you can see here that you can buy a kitchen without cabinets door. And in the future, you can take your rusty Toyota and you can go to a store and buy the doors. The floors were very cheap, but you can change them later. The corridor had storage space. We wanted to create something that will be very, very efficient. And you can tell from this image that the company that liked our project and helped us finance it was IKEA from Sweden. They were my sponsor. And we suggested that on the second floor, this is how you can start your life, open. And you can have completely open space on the second floor. If you start your life and you don't have kids, why will you invest so much money in building something that costs too much money? Whereas in the future, where you do get money, you will be able to divide and have 2 additional bedrooms. 1, 2, and a bathroom here. And you will be able either to do it by yourself, or to do it later, or to hire someone who will do it for you. Again, non-traditional thinking in the home building industry. We did not expect this. One of the big newspapers in the world is, as you know, you probably know, is the New York Times. It is unbelievable when you wake up in the morning and you find your face, my hair, was much darker then. You find your picture on the front page of the New York Times. And it's not only the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, Los Angeles Times, and all over the place. We recognize that our guts and courage enable us to get that. That we find out that this media reaction was in fact a demonstration that something like this is needed. And the media, of course, were very instrumental in bringing the idea to other people. But nothing happened. 6 months after, we built the house, and there was amazing euphoria. Interviews, people, thousands of people came to see the house that was published. Nothing happened. This was very sad and demoralizing. Nobody wanted to see it. People say, if your ideas are so good, and you design for the home building industry, why nobody likes it? It was a tough moment. I did not have permanency, and I was afraid too. But once again, when you wake up in the morning and you believe that your ideas are horribly strong, you say, I will not give up. I will work very hard to make them happen. What at stake was not this house. What at stake was the future of many young people in our society who cannot get job and cannot have house. And home is the foundation of modern life. It's the foundation of family. How a child can get to a university if they will not have a desk to make a homework, a room of their own, that they need to move every year. I recognize that there was a lot of value in what we do, and we need to fight to bring change. And fighting it, once again, was what we did. I also recognize that in every society, only 2.5% are innovators. This will be the people who will wake up in the morning with a completely new idea. And they will not only have a new idea, they will go to work hard to make this idea happen. Only 2.5%. The rest come later. But I say, how can I find that person, 2.5%? How will I be able to find that person? I found it. It was a cold day in Montreal, and this man, his name was Leo Marcotte, came to my office and said, I bought a lot of land, and there was a recession at the time, bad economic situation, very bad. And he says, I am about to lose my land. And he said, I have no choice, I will build your home. He said he had no choice. I will build my home, your home. Finally, I say, I found the man. He was a gutsy, risk-taking gentleman. And he said, I would like to build what you design. This is the home that he built before. You can see, this you can see here, it's not nice at all. It has 2 levels, and they were 28 by 34. I started to talk with Mr. Marcotte, and I needed to convince him to build my home. And I say, you see 28 by 34. So I told him, if you take your home and you divide it to 4 pieces, okay, 4 segments, and you put 3 of them on top of each other, you will get my home. He said, Avi, are you crazy? Who with the right mind will buy a home that is 4 meter wide? Nobody wants to buy it. Nobody will buy 4 meter wide home. I told him, Mr. Marcotte, you have nothing to lose. You almost go bankrupt. You will lose everything. And he said, you know what? You are right. I will build it. The house, the building of the house was published in the newspaper, and you can see that this was the cost of a regular house in Montreal, $150,000. This is our home. We cut the cost of housing by half, but we didn't know what will happen. We didn't know what will happen. He went on to build this, and this is what happened. 24 homes, were sold in the first weekend. The entire development of 90 units were sold in 2 weeks. Mr. Marcotte went on to build in the same year 250 units, and in the first year, in Montreal alone, in this area, they built 1,000 units, and 10 years later, we stopped counting. We built them in the thousands of units. Never give up. Never give up. If you want to change the world, primarily if you are a young person, never give up. If you have a good architectural idea, you make it happen. When you go to these places, you will see today many families with young families pushing a stroller. They got their home. You can see parents and mothers and children all in that place that got their place of living. And we recognize that we created for ourselves a tremendously big laboratory. And in this laboratory, we find that many of the builders were small builders, small. It's not huge companies. Many of them were renters, people who rented home and bought a home, some 90% of them. And many people did what we expected they will do. They did their work themselves. As you can see, plumbing, storage, you can see walls. The people, young people, who build, they finish the homes. And they even did electricity, although I don't know if this is legal. I'm not sure. But they did even electricity. So the idea of grow home, of home that is going with you, worked extremely well. Life only begins when you discover something. The opportunities that open for you is fantastic. In the first few years after the home was built, I did a lot of research, and one day I went and I heard in one of the projects a conversation between a single mother who came to buy a home. And when she bought a home, the person calculated and say, you have income, good income, but it's not sufficient to buy a home. She was a single mother. So I say to myself, there is an opportunity here. Why we should ask that the price of the home, should be fixed and permanent? If I will be able to design to ask you how much money you have, and you have certain amount of money, I will design a home that will enable you to buy a home for the money that you have. And this was the beginning of the next home. After the grow home, we started to work on the next one, on the next home. So here is our ideas. Our ideas were that people, this was the grow home, that you will be able to buy the quantity of space that you need and can afford. It can be a triplex, 3 units. It can be connected like this, or it can be here. One family can live here, and another one can live here. It's a very flexible method of building homes. We suggested that today, that combination will allow people, according to their family situation, to buy the combination of space that they need and can afford. An elderly person does not need the same design and space as a family, regular family. We suggested that homes should be purchased and sold like a car. So you will be able to select components like this one from a catalog. We suggested that after when you design, the design can be flexible, and you can, in this place, you can pass by wiring, and if you want, the kitchen can be in the front, or the kitchen can be next to the bathroom. And there will be a system that will go right here, and you will be able to make very quick connection. And also, future family who would like will be able to change things around. We also suggested, created, as part of our design, we engage our computing industry faculty, and we develop a software that enables you to sit down and make your choices of what you need and can afford from home in your place. And we develop this algorithm. And as you can see, there is an opportunity to select those components. And this algorithm will enable you to arrange and put the rooms in whichever place you want in that space. We suggested that if you are to design future housing that enabled by our industry, it should be as simple as putting furniture from IKEA together. Should be extremely simple. Why it's so complicated to build a home? We build 3 months. It takes us 3 months to build a house, and we say that even this can be shortened. We can create a completely different way of building a house together. We suggested variety of alternatives. This is how we design today when we use gypsum. Electricity goes like this. We do flooring like this, and we pass the plumbing this way. What we said that we need to take every component and we need to study very carefully how we can simplify the project to innovation and introduce all kinds of ways that will shorten the time and reduce the cost. And this is what we suggested. We suggested that walls can be a clip-on walls. The electricity need not to be in the wall, but it can go along the floor. You can have a flooring that you can change, and you can have a plastic system that is common and acceptable in Canada to help you run your water and cold and hot water. This will bring down the cost dramatically and will enable many people, young people, to buy their place. We also suggested that you may have a menu of opportunity. In other words, similar to the way when you buy a computer, they give you a guide of how to do things, how to change things around. We went on to create this menu of opportunity, and like with the first one, the challenge is not to stay in the idea stage. I went around and I find more budget, another budget, from another big insulation company, and we built the house, the next home on the campus in 12 days. This was a complete house, was built in 12 days on the campus of McGill University, where we demonstrated how you do it. And this is the house, this was the house, there are 3 floors, and if you were to remove that wall, if I am to remove this wall, this is what you get. And on the ground floor, you can see we created a scenario. And we had a scenario where old men leaves, old retirees, have a home office and he works from home. The entire unit was designed for an elderly person, and all the furniture can be used and be adjusted to the need of a senior person. Young couple, similar to the grow home, bought this second floor. You can see it here, second floor, and there are hardly any partition. It's all open here. And on the 3rd floor, we have a single mother with 2 kids, and they bought the 3rd and the 4th floor under the roof. We even brought the cost of housing. If the cost of the grow home was somewhere with land in the neighborhood of about $80,000, we even brought that cost for a unit like this even lower to about half that price when you buy one level. And you can see here that IKEA sponsored this project as well. Now, the success of this one was also very good. At the time, I had many contacts with the home building industry already. People knew me. And we were able to build again many thousands of units that let many young families have their own place. Many young families were able to build and live, to move into these type of places, and we really enjoyed seeing how it works. Waking up one morning, I recognize that even this can be improved. I believe that many of the things that we do have opportunity to bring automation to the way we construct buildings. If you were to see here on the right, this is Ford, Henry Ford, legendary factories in Detroit. Everything done by hand. Do you know today how many components, in percentage of the car done by machine? Can somebody tell me? Take a guess. What is the percentage of components in the car that human being touches when they produce? Pardon me? Not bad, 30%. 30%. 70% are not touched at all by anyone. It's all automated today. And yet we build homes in an archaic way. Again, I went out, got research funding, and started to look into prefabrication. What I recognized, I went on a research, collected all the grow homes and the next home plans from all the builders. And what we came up with is 6 panels, exterior panels, and 7 interiors, from which, like Lego pieces, you can do whatever you want. Which means that the factory have to only occupy with 7 pieces and 6 exterior walls. And you can arrange them in whichever way you want. So there is not much thinking that goes into production of the home, and being built in a factory makes them even nicer and better. And then what I went to one of the largest corporation in Canada. It's called the Home Depot. It's a large corporation of renovation store. And I got from them funding, and we did research, and we developed a system of element that you can connect. I don't know if there are students here from industrial design. We will be able maybe to work together, to do something together in the future. But these are connectors. You go to a renovation store, you take anything from this shelf, you connect them, and if you wish, you can create something like this. So a person who starts their life can start in an empty space, and with time they can go and they connect space, connect and divide it. Beautiful architecture happens when you overlap skills from different areas, where you can combine industrial design, when you know history of architecture, when you know construction from a gentleman who teaches you construction, when you understand urban planning, when everything comes together, you are more inspired. Therefore, I encourage my students to go and learn and know more, because the beauty comes where things are happening and coming together. We went on to develop again a catalog of things, catalog of materials, of elements. You can see balconies, doors, windows, all kind of things. And we went on to create for the industry a catalog. There are people still who want modern design. It's the same type of panels that give you this beautiful modern design, but there are those who need and would like, builders who would like to build in Canada in a more traditional way. They can select from this catalog, and the choice, again here, is made by computer as well. They can select the element, and the choice is made by computer. But you don't stop there. One day someone called me, this gentleman, his name was Danny Clary. He made lots of money building the grow home. And he said, I want to start a factory. It was a music to my ears. I love when somebody say these things. It happened to be my sabbatical, year off. And I spent a year with him designing, starting a new factory, a new plant. And as you can see, it's all automated. People do not touch, the way it was in my original dream. So when you start your career, make yourself a bucket list, a list, and try to accomplish everything on your list. For me was to design a home, as you remember, in a prefabricated way. And as you can see, he sold packages of grow home and next home to people who wanted to buy them. But this is not architecture professor. You understand how the world behaves, and you create something like this. You are living here in Lisbon, a beautiful city. But you are not anymore citizens of Portugal. You are citizens of the world. Today, the internet lets you be anywhere you want and reach very, very quick connection. My demonstration is my connection with Professor George through the internet. Thank you very much, sir. But I believe that this is the future. So here I am. One morning, I opened my computer, and there was an email from this company, the Accent Group. And they say, we read on the internet about your work. Can we come and visit you? We like your idea. I never heard of them before, never dealt with them before. So they came, a whole delegation came from the UK to us, and they say, we love your ideas. And this started the export chapter in my career. And during my work as a professor, on the weekends, I will fly to the UK, to England, on a weekend, just to work with these groups. And as you can see, the work was adapted. We took the grow home and the next home. We adapted them to the British condition. They developed again another variation of the grow home and the next home for the British condition. Panels were produced in that factory okay? Put on a container, shipped to Liverpool, and we build it in England. Can ideas that come from a university inspire success of a nation? This work created tremendous amount of employment in our country. I truly believe that the opportunity for you with your ideas to turn things around, to bring prosperity to the country, to be the hub and the center of wonderful ideas that will start new industries and will shift around and will turn around many people, young people, in giving them employment is possible. And this is what we have done. Many people went on to work in Canada producing this home. And this is all panels, went on a container from Canada, and they inspire work in our place. This is the interior of that unit. Again, was designed according to the way we wanted. But when you design a home, you don't accomplish everything. Can we design communities? Can we design a neighborhood made of many homes? I believe that this is also one of the things that I talked about. How can we design a community that will be more sustainable, which again was a very important part of my work. I believe that affordability and sustainability are highly integrated, because if you do something small, you consume less resources. There is a convergence here between the two. I also believe that in order to understand how to solve ideas, you need to have an understanding of culture, society, environment of the economy. Because you cannot leave one factor behind. They all need to be connected to each other. I also believe that in the future, we will have to design communities that will be self-sustained. Homes should power themselves. Older people, young people should care for the young. We should start and encourage local culture and local consumption too, that generate economy. We also suggest that we need to understand the interrelation between elements in life. When you design in a community, when you design a path like this, it will make people more healthy, and they will live longer, we will build less hospitals, and we will have more money to invest in education, educated workforce that will start a new prosperity in a country. Understanding this is extremely important. So I started to investigate and see what will be, how can I save money when I design communities? The tendency, as you can see here, to work on planning, design, construction, and finishes issues. But what I recognize that my contribution will be not only in reducing the cost of the home, something that I read already, but in introducing places where people will not rely on cars, where they will be able to grow their own food, save money, where they will be able to save energy, and I believe that affordable housing has the potential to generate wealth. Can we do it? I was very fortunate to be given the opportunity to do it. And once again, let's begin with mobility. We spend about 5 years of our life driving. If we can take in Canada big land, we have to drive a lot. 5 years of our life we drive. If I can get people to drive less and not have a car, they will save on energy and the cost of cars. What I invited to design a master plan. I work across Canada, and I was invited to design a master plan for a city called Stony Plain. City of 16,000 people that is about to grow because of oil boom at the time to 25,000. And this was the plan at the time. You can see pods of things. You have to drive from place to place. What we design is a master plan that see the growth of a city happen around the center, and everything is connected. So there was no expansion, but closing the gap in those open spaces in this design. They used to have, as you can see here, bike path in all kinds of places. what we recognize that there is opportunity to turn this bike path into an alternative system. And what we created is a path that connects with bicycle, as you can see, the edges of town. We suggested that every person who step out of their home should be able to ride their bicycle from every home to the town center. And we designed an entire system. Again, for this town, it was something different at the time, but we recognized that this is a way to make people not drive, save money. It is an opportunity there. The road system was one that was very, very designed for cars, fast moving. What we have done, we designed a road that you cannot move to very quickly, and once again, there are many squares. We designed closed streets, zona pedonale, the way you have it here, car sharing system, and narrow roads that save, again, tremendous amount of money. We went on to recognize that there is another element which is important, and this is how we can save by buying food. This is how we do it today. Today, most of us go on the weekend and we stand in line in supermarkets. Can we grow our own food? Can we grow our own food? Once again, I was given an opportunity to work in a city called Middlesex Center in Ontario. And it was a beautiful city. And they asked me to develop in that place a new development. And this was the site. It was between two established neighborhoods, and I was asked to develop here something new. And when we designed this, we created lead criteria of how to design the entire community to be environmentally well. We went on to develop this master plan that saw many green spaces happening here, all of them are affordable housing. You have affordable housing built around a center. And in those places, you have areas where you have urban agriculture, where people will be able to work and grow their food. They can come from their yard. This will be a shared community garden where people will be able to grow their own things. We developed guidelines of how one can develop such area in that community. And the idea was that all kind of suggestion of where the land should be, how it should be organized, and so on. The other issue is energy. We are consuming tremendous amount of energy. If you can lower your energy expense, you most likely will also have less cost. How can we lower energy consumption? Once again, one of the most unhospitable place, harsh climate, is in our Canadian Arctic. I designed neighborhood in these places, but this was one of the most challenging places that I ever visited. It's a very, very cold place. And energy, therefore, enjoying the sun is very, very important. And we started by studying all direction of wind, snow, and sun path. And what we did was created a system, as you can see here, a system where all the home took advantage in their south and north of your orientation to get passive solar gain, and then as a result lower their cost. We went to design a home for that community where once again they break the wind. It's a very interesting design that break the winds, and there are all kind of elements that again create or save energy in that design, and this is again that development. The other issue is, can affordable housing create wealth? You can see here a picture, an image of Detroit. It is a city that was completely collapsed. Can we generate in a town wealth using affordable housing? I was given an opportunity to do it when I worked in a place, and the place was a place called Fort Saskatchewan in Alberta. And the place, again, saw decline. Many young people left the place. There was no employment. They moved to a city called Edmonton, which is not very far. What we suggested, created a master plan for them, and we created a neighborhood and we developed these areas by introducing innovative housing to young people who would like to start their own businesses. Since the cost is not much, it's existing, they will be able to rent apartment plus office for very little. And these are the 3 blocks that we looked at. We worked and we developed special housing to urban center, and basic idea was how to bring in young people and generate new local industry in that community. This is some of the design that we work. We did a lot of modeling on that place, but as you can see, when you look here, you can see that you have stores on the bottom, some offices. There are offices on the 2nd floor, and people live above their offices in an existing and or renovated building. The place, many people started to move into this area, and the success was tremendous. They got to have people who they did not expect to have in this design. I don't know if you know who win in chess game. I don't know if you know. You know? Who wins? What strategy you need to have to win in chess? Somebody knows? Play chess? The person who wins, the person who can see the possible movement ahead of their opponents. If I know where you will go, I will be able to counter your move. Today, society and life is like a chess game. Like a chess game. I can tell you today what will happen tomorrow. I'm not a prophet, but I will be able to tell you. It's very easy to read the writing on the wall. And if we are, as a society, preparing for this eventuality, I believe that we will be very successful. We are living in a very fragile economy. Canada is an immensely wealthy nation, but we are in a slump. There is unemployment in Canada, big unemployment.
How much?
I will say that we are in 6% or 7%, which I know is much lower than your unemployment. I know that. But once again, most of the people affected are young people. This will not change. This is, for us in Canada, the new normal. In other words, we need to prepare for that. We need to live with this mentality. You cannot say, I will wait 5 years, 10 years, 20 years for the economy to come back. No. You make the economy. You make the economy, the way I did with the export of housing. I believe that we are moving into a time where climate change and global warming is a reality. We need to design our home to consume very little energy. We need to design our home not to pollute. We need ourselves to design home. I'm designing now kitchens with farm, with place where you grow vegetable in your kitchen in the winter. We are creating we're understanding that this represents a new reality, how we will live in the future. And you need to prepare for it today. We, at least here in our country, need to design a new type of urban environment. We recognize that we cannot build forever very long. We need to design housing for new families. We need to design housing that are more compact, that are served by public transportation, something I believe that you have already. This is a change. Another thing is that we all have a voice. The distance between you, each of you and me, is the keyboard of your computer. I can today talk to you on Skype in an instant. We bring guests from around the world to lecture in our university. They are not coming. It's all by computer, Skype. This is a change. The speed in which ideas travel in today's world is very, very quick. And we need to take advantage of this reality. Things have been accelerated when it came to idea. My experience with England is such. They find me on the web. I get email like this all the time. You may wake up in the morning and see this, the empty earth. I believe that when you wake up in the morning, you must look at this. Because this offers us wonderful opportunities. All the changes that you see around us is a time for wonderful, wonderful opportunities. I'm very pleased to be here and talk to you today. Thank you for coming and being here with me. Thank you. Sure, sure. Yes, sure.
Quem quiser perguntar, já está toda a gente a levantar-se, mas ainda não acabou.
Pois não. Portanto, era bom que fizessem perguntas.
Não despachem as coisas assim, pá. Até à última, não ouviram o que o homem disse?
Na medida em que esta apresentação coloca uma série de questões, interroga a nossa contemporaneidade, sobretudo vocês jovens, estão no começo disso. E, portanto, na construção da contemporaneidade. Portanto, viram aqui, certamente, muitas questões que vos tocam, como futuros arquitetos urbanistas, também, evidentemente. Portanto, penso que seria bom fazer algumas perguntas, porque, se calhar, com certeza, ficaram com algumas interrogações para o nosso convidado, não é? Portanto, o professor Friedman. Portanto, faz favor.
Hi, I'm Jacinto. I'm here from the faculty. I don't speak very well English, so I'm trying to
That's fine.
to explain it
It's
myself.
it's better than my Portuguese.
Probably is. Thank you for being here with us today. I've loved your speech. It is very interesting and very inspiring. And I was wondering when I was thinking about the new construction here in Portugal. We have like a inflectionary construction. We have a lot of construction, and so I was wondering if you in Canada, when you started developing these modules, you had problems with the already constructed things. How do you deal with the things that are already constructed? Is it very small, and so you have a lot of opportunities to construct, or do you have any issues with this? Thank you.
Thank you. If I understand correctly, you would like to know whether the existing things
Yes.
offer a challenge. If the existing things offer a challenge. There is no, in Canada, most of the existing housing stock was built in the 1960s and 70s. So Canada is unlike Portugal today. When I walked in the past few days, and I see the signs and the ears on your walls, I say it is an amazing place. Canada is only 300, Montreal, which is the oldest city, is only 375 years old. So we are very, very young. The challenge that we are facing is mostly with new construction. We try very hard to conserve our heritage, our old building, stone building, brick buildings. But most of our work is building new communities. So, as you can see, building a new development in the right way is a fantastic challenge for us, because the home building industry, as you saw, is not very innovative. And the big challenge is how to make them think differently. And I believe that in our case, we were a little bit successful to show them that when you build new, you can build it different, be economically successful, and create something completely new, a new product. So,
Thank you.
yes. Yes.
Hi. Thank you for being here. I was wondering that we have really different challenges in Canada and here in Europe and Lisbon in particular, because really our challenge is not to build more, but to build so less. So we can't build because we have an extra of construction already. So our challenge would be the flexibility of our existing buildings and the rehabilitation of our existing buildings. And I guess so I was just wondering about the different realities. Such an old city like our, we don't have space to build more. So our students will have to face the double challenge for the outside, maybe working in Canada to build new and to work on the existing here. Do you have ideas or about the rehabilitation of buildings? And also we build in brick and
Yes.
not in wood, so that's also a big difference. So our construction doesn't go down so easily, and to build something new. So do you have thoughts about the rehabilitation process and challenge?
Yes, first I do appreciate the major difference between our two countries. Portugal is an old country that have great deal of existing housing stock. I walked around and I saw some of the things here and so on. Seems to me, when I worked also and I did many rehabilitation projects in towns, when I see the big empty buildings that you may have here, in my category or my perception, it fall into the half empty and half full glass. It is an opportunity for you. And I believe that perhaps with government assistance, or I really don't know how it works, they can be the potential for young people to get their first home. If this is at all possible. I don't know if it is possible. But there is no doubt that there is potential of some kind there. The other challenge, and I believe that you may want to consider, is to make the building of an apartment building, for example, which is very common here, much lighter. Innovation need to come to the way we build. I know that in some country in Europe, I don't know if this is the case here, they build interior wall, not the way we do, but with bricks and stone and masonry, which is extremely heavy. Now, this is the culture of building, and I know that changing culture of building, like in Canada, will be extremely hard. But what is important is that universities and research will play an important role in demonstrating that there are other technology that can be more relevant, even in the adaptation of existing structure, okay, by all kind of new technologies that can bring the cost down and will be approved. I know that it's not simple, because you have to go through many bureaucratic, and there are many issues that you need to consider. But I feel that within the context that Portugal is now, and the way you construct it, there are so many opportunities And perhaps, who knows, there can be a demonstration project not far away from here. If you can build one building, one house, and you can demonstrate that it can be, and I know that it's not simple, but there can be a way, and this is how change begins. When you do one project, that it is like domino. It gets media exposure, people come, codes are changing, and maybe the time to begin is now. Yes.
Oh, can I ask?
Yes.
Well, thank you for your lecture.
Thank you.
First of all, it was interesting. 2 or 3 things that I would like to point here now. Of course, we belong to a very different background and also a very different context.
Yes.
Productive context, and the industry here works very different. And regarding your position and your work around the affordable housing and the process involved with it, my question would be, assuming that for building we need to design, for designing we need to have ideas. I should ask you what would be for you the design part of the design in the success of a structure and a system like the system that you are developing. Because in a certain way, the design part of the design, which means the different solutions for different places, different cultures, different situations, how can your system be suitable and open to accept, let's see, the relation between what is a critical thought and interpretation, the context understanding, and the creative action using your system that can merge the flexibility of your production and the use, perhaps, different situations in context, even regarding that Canada perhaps is more equal than Europe, where we have very different cultures in the north and the south,
That's right.
Mediterranean and Britain, etc. Well, it's the relation between what is repetition and how the gains and the good things that repetition in fact has, and for housing is very important repetition, the relation between that and the necessity of thinking that all of we are very different. So that kind of adaptation. Okay.
Yes. No, it is a good question. And before I came here and I put together my slides, there is no doubt. I studied, I don't know if it was mentioned. I studied architecture in Milano. I'm a graduate of the I studied in the Politecnico di Milano. So I know the European context very well. And I believe that I also coming from a Mediterranean warm country. My origin is in Israel. So I'm familiar with your nature of building. So it was not completely new for me. However, I believe that in many of the things that I show today, there is an element that can be easily taken and adapted to the condition of Portugal. I have no doubt. You have, I find, an amazingly qualified labor force here. And I believe that Portugal can export many of the things, not necessarily an entire concrete building, but an export. Let me share with you something that I do now. That was amazing success. I should have shown you some slides. My ideas in the UK was bought by a company that built housing for students in England. And this concept is now being built was built in 5 UK universities. In the UK, they did not build before with wood. So it was completely new. And you know who export the building to them? It doesn't come from the UK. It came from Poland. So they develop an industry that brings all the material from Poland. Now I understand that it's a completely different thing. So many of the things that I talked about, the adaptability, managing space very carefully, enable people to buy from a catalog, enable people to lower energy consumption dramatically. All these elements, regardless of where you build, be it Canada or Portugal, can easily be those core, these seeds of ideas and innovation can be done here. But I truly believe that there is another important element, and once again, something that worked and happened in my case. The idea is that sometime you stand in front of solid wall and you say, I will not be able to change. That the world is against me. Let's stay with what we have. I believe that this moment, I believe that happened in my case and in other people's case, comes when you say, how can I look, this is how they manufacture this. Let's see if we can do something that will be a better design. And then you take and change in the home building industry does not happen overnight. It takes decades. But it in my case, it needed to start somewhere. And I started to work on the things that I did 20 years ago. So the point is, you're right, two different contexts, two different structure, two different economies, but there are still many elements, I believe, in what I show today that can find their way, some, not all of them, some of them to other nations as well, I believe. Yes.
Depois sou eu.
Sorry.
Please.
So I don't know if this is a good question or not.
Everything is a good question, the way I say to my student.
I was thinking about the system that you have for computers, for people to choose their own homes, like the catalog that you talked about. And I was thinking about where architects like us, where do we fit there? Because if everyone can do that, where do we place ourselves?
Excellent question that I get a lot. It's an excellent question. You say that maybe by doing it, we will count the architects out of the game. Somebody will take. It is what happened is that in my work, the way once you do that, I will talk in a moment about architects. First, we opened the housing market wide open. In a very short times, there was many thousands of units were built that created all this wealth. Now to your questions. I believe that in every society and community, when people are failed to adapt, they disappear. Adaptability in life is a very important element. We are designing now, as an architect, we move to industrial design product. We move to design the homes that are being purchased. In every project, the developer engages us to do a different design because people before used to design for very wealthy people. We changed that. Architect can be involved in the very basic market. So in fact, I believe, excellent question, I appreciate it, because I don't want to cut the branch on which I'm sitting. I will fall down. But our work demonstrated that we came up with many more designs. To answer your question, because you're in a school of architecture and this is important. If you see Frank Lloyd Wright or Le Corbusier work, they design chairs, they design cutlery, they design many things, and then there were other industries that came and take it from there. I believe that in this new world and vision, architects need to possess a Renaissance knowledge and need to do more than one thing. This will be the way of the future. You cannot create a mono-dimensional person. We need to create people who know many things. My understanding of economy help Mr. Cleary build a factory. And I advised him, I traveled with him to Helsinki to buy the machines, all automated. And it was all money issues. He, by doing it, created jobs for many people who exported housing. So the new way by which architects will exercise their profession in the future will be by touching and knowing much more, which will be in the way of the thing. But excellent question.
Thank you very much.
You are most welcome.
Well, I'd like to
Yes.
ask you, because your conference leveled many issues, you know?
Yes.
Political ones.
Political too?
Very, very strongly. But I would like, because you spoke about history. History, I suppose, also the theory of architecture.
Yes.
You know? Then, well, you spoke at moments about Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier had your ideas.
Yes.
Well, he said that a home should build like a motor car.
Yes.
No. Well, and from there, that period, which means 100 years ago, today there were so many experiences. Did you look at them?
Yes, you know, it's an excellent question. If each of the images that you saw here was the outcome of research project. I'm surrounded by many young people who do their masters with me and PhD and so on. So what we did, we went to all the exhibition homes that there is. Miss van der Rohe did in Barcelona, the famous pavilion. There is another one that was built in Düsseldorf and so on. And to our surprise, including Rietveld, and I can take you to a long list of demonstration homes, not many found their way to the market. They were inspired, new type of architecture, but they were not adopted, not many adopted by developers. Although I know that in the Bauhaus, there were many architects who designed something very practical to change. So what happened is that everything that we did here was based on research, but what we recognized that we wanted to do from the very beginning was to design a home that will be adopted. We did not want to stay in a theoretical level. This was a cool decision. And we went and we talked to many builders. Architects don't do it much. They see builders as inferior people. And they say, oh, they're after the money. But once you talk to them, Mr. Marcotte, who built our first project, was extremely knowledgeable man, because he lived in this business all his life. He told us right away, don't do this, it will not work. And when you listen to good ideas and you are able to combine them with innovation, you succeed. So again, as a student of history, we looked at many examples. But it's not only student of history. We consulted engineers about energy consumption, energy systems. We consulted other ones about choice of building material and building product. So the process, as I mentioned, is now becoming an interrelated one. And if you set your mind to think more broadly and bring into the process knowledge from other disciplines, I believe that you will be successful. So it work us for as well. Yeah.
Well, you spoke another thing.
Yes.
I suppose that you said that the quality in architecture depends on the response to the complexity. I agree with you entirely. And I suppose that you try to pursue this kind of quality or this idea of quality in your designs.
Yes, it is a good point. I believe that people usually, if they have money, they will be willing to pay more for quality. If you have something that you are able to explain, and if people will most likely will be willing to invest more. In other words, there is value important, I believe in the important value of design. That everything that we do, everything that we touch, every object, we need to recognize that design has value, and we attempted to introduce it to the many things that we can. And since then, I did other demonstration projects. I built in Mexico, house very cheap. I went to Mexico, I built another one like this, I did not show you today. I built in Mexico. But anyway, I built in other places. But the point is that design has value. And if people will be able to afford that value, they will pay for it. And I think that it needs to be an important part of how we design. Yes.
Mais alguma pergunta? Então, declaramos encerrada a sessão e eu agradeço ao professor Friedman esta estimulante palestra, não é? Estimula-nos a pensar, está realmente fora da caixa, um bocado fora da caixa, em vários sentidos, daquilo que nós normalmente pensamos sobre estas matérias. Há aqui não é desconsideração, mas é uma diminuição da valorização dos aspectos formais da arquitetura que estão muito presentes no nosso ensino, não é? Que estão muito presentes na nossa prática. Aquela história de ele dizer que todos os arquitetos querem fazer uma casa bestial, cheia de vidro, não sei o quê, que para aparecer na Casa Bela, ou na Domus, ou na qualquer coisa. Isso desvirtua o aspecto integrado que o professor Friedman aqui acentuou particularmente. É evidente que se nós, com o aspecto, mantendo a integração e mantendo a conexão entre todas estas partes, conseguirmos criar uma coisa suficientemente bela para aparecer nas coisas, o aparecer é um bocado tonto, porque eu sei de muitos casos em que aparecer não tinha nada a ver com o conteúdo, tinha a ver com pagar $5.000 ao editor da Casa Bela, nomeadamente, e outras coisas assim. Portanto, aparecer é um bocado... é melhor dizer ter o reconhecimento dos seus pares e da sociedade em geral sobre a beleza particularmente nos aspectos estéticos, não é? Ter esse reconhecimento. Não me interessa nada aparecer nas revistas, nem pouco mais ou menos. Acho...
Posso fazer uma coisa?
Diz.
É que isto é o oposto ao Star System. It's the opposite.
Exatamente.
Your position is the opposite of the Star System.
The Architect Star System.
No?
Yes, yes.
E essa oposição ao Star System é um dos aspectos mais interessantes da coisa, esta ligação ao mercado. É claro que há aqui uma componente muito americana, não é? Quer dizer, de ligação ao mercado, mas não em relação à desconsideração da coisa económica, que é uma coisa que eu tenho tentado no 5º ano em relação ao planeamento urbanístico, introduzir à viva força e meter-lhes à martelada na cabeça de que quando se faz um plano tem que saber quanto é que custa. Não é? Que é para saber se é viável, ou se é, mesmo sem saber o que é que custa, se sabe que se está a fornecer um guia que é viável do ponto de vista do mercado e da forma como nós funcionamos agora. Porque nós podemos todos estar a sonhar que vamos ter uma sociedade, sei lá o quê, no futuro, não sei o que mais, mas no imediato e no médio prazo, que é a nossa vida, vamos ter esta mesmíssima sociedade, não tenhamos dúvidas nenhumas. E aquilo que temos que fazer é tentar transformá-la pela via cidadã, do exercício da cidadania, sim senhora, mas depois temos que nos adaptar, temos que inevitavelmente trabalhar nesse sentido. E essa realidade está muito presente no trabalho do Avi Friedman. E está tanto ou tão pouco que é uma figura que, quer dizer, aparece na primeira página do New York Times, mas não aparece na primeira página da Casa Bela. Pronto, a diferença é essa. Quer dizer, e a diferença de aproximação em relação aos problemas é extremamente ligada à realidade. Esta questão que ele levantou agora, de ir falar com os empreiteiros, dos arquitetos ir falar com os empreiteiros. Alguma vez, um arquiteto português, quando está a fazer um projeto, vai falar com empreiteiros? Mas isso é uma coisa já mais vista. Que merda é esta?
Bom, mas
Com estas palavras termino.
eu só queria dizer, há um exemplo pioneiro em Portugal que é muito esquecido, que é o Francisco Conceição Silva,
Exatamente.
que procurou integrar o papel do arquiteto e o pensamento da arquitetura na sociedade em geral e na produção geral do mundo construído. Portanto, não se esqueçam, Francisco Conceição Silva.
Sim, senhor, que fez isso que o Michel está a dizer e que, mas também, paralelamente, diga-se, é bom da verdade, tentou transformar o exercício da arquitetura e do atelier em estilo de empresa, E o próprio, quer dizer, e ele avançava para estes vários campos que o professor Avi estava a dizer, com um espírito de empreendedor que se colocava dentro da própria arquitetura, não é? Quer dizer, ele almejava, digamos assim, fazer uma empresa de arquitetura, construção, design e não sei o quê, ou várias, ou um grupo, um núcleo de empresariado arquitetónico e apanhando, e muito bem, como tu disseste, apanhando ideias que vinham da indústria da construção e tentando racionalizá-las de forma a torná-las economicamente viáveis, etc, etc. Foi um dos coisas. Depois aconteceu-lhe aquilo que aconteceu também.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you.
Friedman.
Thank you very much. Thank you.